This is Unfiltered, the talk radio show giving you real opinions about real issues for real. Call us toll free at 877-CHAT-212. That's 877-242-8212.
This is Lil Ern.
And this is Kaine.
And as you know, we are being joined today by somebody who I consider my brother. I spent half an hour a week with this gentleman for the better part of a decade. Felt like he was my brother. But then I found out I didn't know him like I thought I did. And why is that? Because this individual is Todd Bridges' new book out, Killing Willis. And I got to tell you, I found out things I never knew. Welcome,
Did you read
Todd.
it?
I read the whole thing.
Did you really?
Really?
Cover
Good.
to cover.
Yes.
I read the whole thing. I wouldn't do that to you. Rainstorm here in New York City. Saturday, picked it up, couldn't put it down. I read about you from childhood to, your recent experiences, cover to cover. And I do, you know what, let me just tell you something. I know that today is St. Patrick's Day. I had to
Yes.
throw a little green into the wardrobe.
Oh, yeah. I got a little green
Yeah.
on my tie.
This is what I did. I put on camouflage today. You might be able to see it. And I thought, you know what, it's fitting for both St. Patrick's Day and because I'm sitting down with Todd Bridges because you have battled racism in Hollywood, an abusive father, addiction, behind-the-scenes drama. So I thought, let me put on the camouflage.
So you can hide
just
from
a
me?
war metaphor. No, not to hide from
I
you.
thought you wanted to hide from
Like
me
the
so I couldn't
battles,
find
battles.
The
you.
highs
Like, where'd he
and
go?
lows.
Where'd Lil Ern go? Where'd Lil Ern go?
What about the highs and lows of celebrity?
Yeah, it's
You
a
know,
lot of
that's a
highs and
battle,
lows of
too.
that. It's a different kind of battle, though. But, it's something you have to get used to, and it's something that you can never, it never goes away. That's the thing about it is it's just something that stays with you for the rest of your life, kind of stays there. So
Now, speaking about battles, why now? Why a book now? Because in reality, I was thinking about this on the way over here. You could have written 3 very distinct, separate biographies by now.
Yeah.
And this is our first time to really hear the true story about Todd Bridges.
Yeah, I wanted to put it all in. I could have written several biographies, but I wanted to put it all in one to really let people know where I was coming from and what really happened to me, and tell my side of the story, and not let some Hollywood people tell their side of the story.
Right.
And I really wanted them to realize that it's been a tough battle being me, and it's not just being me because of who I am on television, but what I had to go through to get to that position and still be where I'm at today. I'm blessed to still be alive. It's a true blessing. That I'm not dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of being dead, when people talk about your story, there's always a backdrop of 80s star.
Oh, yeah.
And what goes along with being an 80s child icon.
Yeah.
Right. Are you turning
Whoops,
up the
are you-
mics
you
again?
just
Turn
Turn
the
up
mic
the
up,
mics
man.
again.
Pulled my voice like, hello.
But so 80s child icon.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to take a step back, go back to the beginning. You always wanted to be a star. You were never forced into the television realm.
Being in television had nothing to do with my parents forcing me into. It's something I've always wanted to do. And I realized that when I used to watch Red Fox, Sanford and Son, and I wanted to be just like him. And I was very fortunate in my career to be able to meet my icons like that, and actually hang around them and sit around and drink coffee with them. It was pretty cool being able to do that as a child.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know your career took off, I would think, fairly quickly. Whenever I
Yeah.
was reading the book, you were booking commercials. You've
Yeah.
done so many, you can't even rattle them off.
Yeah,
you had
I've
50
done
commercials
yeah,
done
I've
by
done
the age
tons
of
of
12.
them. Yeah, I've done so many, and I've done some of the really big commercials too. Like I don't know if you guys remember, there was a Jello Bread and Gelatin commercial before Bill Cosby. Mm-hmm. That was with the whole family. Our whole family did a commercial like that.
Nice.
And just always been working all my life. I've been really blessed to where I was the opportunity where I was always the black kid they always went to do stuff because I had the chops to do it first of all.
Yeah.
And they just liked me, I guess. So.
That's good. And Willis was a great gig.
Yeah.
Like Lil Ern said earlier, he thought that you guys were brothers. I just knew that we were brothers. We had you on the television all day long.
I
We had
appreciate that.
T-shirts. We had everything, And so, it was really a wonderful experience to sit back as a young African-American man and watch you, on television and the success that you had. And you brought us in. You made it family moments for us. We all sat around the table and had a conversation after the show. So it was
I
great.
appreciate that. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you.
No problem.
Now, being a television actor, we got to know you because it was on television. And very successful. We'll see you on TV. And everything seems to be going great. Everyone was jealous of you, but behind the scenes, it wasn't all all peachy.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't exactly what people would thought it had been, and that's the thing about in the entertainment business. It's has its highs and it definitely has its lows, and it has its middle ground. And I think when a real actor finally gets to his plateau of true success is when he's really happy with himself and where his career has gone. And that's why I know my career's not over. I got a lot more work to do. But right now I'm comfortable where I'm at, and I really am, and I just enjoy being me right now.
Now, speaking of battles. Probably one of your first significant battles was the one between you and your father. Your family life wasn't the Cosby Show.
No, it wasn't the Cosby Show. I wish I had a father like the Cosby. You kidding me? My dad, my father basically did what he wanted to do, and he never told us he loved us, never hugged us, never did anything like that. His idea of taking us fishing was dropping us off at the fishing place and going to the bar to drink and then come back and get us when he was drunk. It was that kind of thing. I spent more time going fishing with, Mr. Drummond than I did with my own dad, Conrad took us fishing all the time, That's something he always did with us, so.
And I know from reading the book, you have a special relationship with your mother. I mean, that was obvious within every page.
Yeah, my mother, she's a really strong lady, and she's still alive, and she's still very strong, and I still wouldn't say anything crazy to her today.
Right. Now, something that's been getting a lot of press that you wrote about in the book, and I commend you for being brave enough to speak about this, was you were molested.
Yeah, by the publicist. And then what made it even worse was that my father took the publicist's side because he convinced my dad that I was going to say something. And when my mom tried to get the publicist, my dad wouldn't let her. And then, but my mom told her she couldn't come around anymore. But my dad said, well, why can't he? He's my friend. And Mom was like, well, if he comes around here, I'm going to stab him. So there you go. So he never came around again. But then I found out later on, I didn't know this mom kept it from me. He used to stalk me. He used to show up places that I was at all the time. Oh, wow. And my mom, kind of cut that to the curb. But when she called the police at the time, there was no stalking law. She said, well, we can't do anything unless he does something. Which is totally insane,
Yeah. Well, this is Unfiltered, so I can say, I'm going to throw out the M word, not say molested. It was rape. It was at a young age, and you didn't consent, then that's rape.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the thing about it was it's so difficult for a child when he's going through that, because I was struggling with what I was heterosexual or homosexual. I was struggling with that. And at 11 years old, a kid should not be struggling with that. Right. And then, then in Plato, we had some experiences together, and I realized that that's where my draw was. And that kind of helped me just get past that moment. But still, I kept blaming myself, that it was my fault, that I put myself in that situation. So I spent many years blaming myself. So then by the time I got old enough to really start dealing with things, I wasn't ready to deal with it because I was still immature in that way. Because to me, that stops your growing process. When something like that happens to you, traumatic in your life, you stop growing and you stop maturing. You kind of stop right there, right where it's at. It's just like we say kids that start drugs early, they stop maturing early. That's where they stop at. It's like whenever you have something traumatic that takes place in your life as a child when you're trying to grow mentally, it stops you from growing. So then once the final show ended, then it all came rushing on me at once, and I turned to drugs because I thought that they would make me feel better, and it did for temporarily. But then, I didn't know I was going to get addicted. I never thought that was even possible. But no one ever told us about drugs, about being addicted. We never really, it's like now we know. We see people losing their lives behind it, Back then, it wasn't very covered very well, and our parents just told us don't do it because it's bad for you. That was it. They didn't tell us why, Then when you get older, you find out you got cousins who messed their lives up. You realize you see a lot of people who ruin their lives behind it. I think if that's told to kids nowadays, like to my kids, I tell them that, and I show them what's going to happen, and I tell them how hard it's going to be for them to make their life successful if they continue down that path. And, like I said, I'm glad to be around still and be alive to even be able to write a book and come out with it. I think it's pretty good to be able to do that.
I got a couple of questions for you about drugs, but
Gotcha.
Before we get there, I just want to set this up. Obviously, your claim to fame, what you're really known for, you were in Roots.
Yeah.
First African-American on the Waltons.
Yeah.
We even got to hear them say goodnight. I think it was Solomon.
Yeah.
Good night, Solomon. Good night, John Boy.
It was kind of weird,
This was Todd Bridges, but Diff'rent Strokes is when you were put into the stratosphere of superstardom.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea that this was gonna blow up like this?
Well, see, it's weird because I tell you something else funny, which is actually not in the book. I had a choice between Diff'rent Strokes and Mork and Mindy. Mork and Mindy was a show that I auditioned for too. Jeffrey J. Cole actually is the guy who did end up doing Mork and Mindy, but I auditioned for Mork and Mindy too. Originally, it was called Mork from Mork, and Mork lived in the attic of this guy's house who lived with his black grandma. But then they changed the process to that. They didn't want the black grandma no more, so they made it to where he was just a friend of Mork, and he lived with Mindy. That's what they made Mork and Mindy. And so I turned down Mork and Mindy and took Diff'rent Strokes because I wanted to be an older brother, which was, I'm sure, a much smarter move because they would have changed the process of Mork and Mindy and it wouldn't have been the same. So.
Now, when did the drug use start?
It started when I got about 21, 22 years old.
And was it incremental? Did you start with alcohol and pot like you hear so much?
It's pot. Well, I started with pot earlier than that when I was like 15, experimenting with it, but never really got into it.